Minute. When Ramona says she is doing a deep dive piece on something, you know it is going to be so good. And sure enough, this story she did with Michael C. Wright finally got some answers on the greatest mystery in sports this season, the tension between the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard. You run Zach Lowe's podcast, I think, released today. I love what he said. He said, look, this woman got into the brothel that Lamar Odom passed out at. She can do anything.
I'm really short and sneaky.
And she has actually lifted the veil, along with Mike Wright, on what is going on between these two parties. So give us some of the key points here.
Well, I mean, I think number one for me and my big takeaway is this was about control. Okay? The Spurs did not like when they lost control of the process, of the situation, of the franchise player. And when I talked to Kawhi directly, like, I really felt like he was hurt and he did not feel ready to go. And there's been some disagreement about what the actual injury is, which then gave him pause of, okay, well, if you think it's this,
so interesting to me.
And my people say it's this, and I'm still feeling pain there, how can I trust you when you say I'm cleared? Right. And I think that's where they are right now, and especially when you look at guys like Isaiah Thomas, and we've seen some recent history. But things like this don't happen to the Spurs, and things like this would never in a million years happen to Kawhi Leonard, right? You think I mean, of all the low-maintenance guys in the league, this was Kawhi Leonard. So I don't think the Spurs would ever force a player to play. They have a very good track record of supporting their players. The question is how it's been handled. Right. And clearly, there has been a lot of disagreement in how it's been handled in the process and in the people around Kawhi who are speaking for him. And when I spoke to him directly, I thought he had a pretty good handle on things. I wish he would speak more.
Well, I like that you spoke him directly. And what was it? How many seconds did you get with him before the Spurs PR swooped in on
35 maybe.
Right? I mean,
I don't know how they heard me or saw me. Like, the door was closed. All of a sudden, the door opened, and I'm like, you have like X-ray vision?
Tom Davis everywhere. Right? Absolutely. So, Byron, you're hearing from Ramona. They disagree on what the injury is. That's a huge thing.
That's huge. That's big time.
And then, obviously, how to proceed from it. And also, I thought it was so interesting in your story, the alienation that you talk about, that Kawhi's team is indicating, and even Kawhi himself to you in one of those quotes, that she got, because, again, it was only 30 seconds, but she got it, people, because she always gets it. He indicated to you, even in that one quote, that it seemed like things were, he's like, people are going to trust the Spurs instead of me. If you're Byron, I mean, how does that sound about where things are with these guys?
It sounds like they're a million miles apart right now. I think, obviously, we know how great Pop is as a person and as a coach. And if anybody can get this thing back on track with Kawhi, it's Pop. We know that. Yep. And I think they're going to end up having a discussion over some of the things that both, parties want to get out. And I think it can be resolved. I still think he has a chance to be in San Antonio, but I think there's going to be a couple of things that have to happen. Number one, they're going to have to offer him that $219 million contract right away. They can't take a penny off of that. That's number one. And number two, I think they're going to have to address two teammates, Manu and Tony Parker.
Who might not be there next year.
Who might not be there anyway, but if they're talking about coming back, that might be a problem with Kawhi, because those guys said some things in the locker room that wasn't pretty cool, and I'm sure Kawhi wasn't very happy about it, and that's one of the reasons that I think that he kind of separated himself from the team.
He's in New York.
He was like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. Because I think if he wanted to confront it, then there would have been a bigger issue. So I think those are two of the main issues that they're going to have to discuss and get on the same page. But we know if anybody can do it, it's Pop. And if Kawhi just decides, because he has the power, which this team is not used to, this organization is not used to having guys have power over them.
That's right.
They're used to it being the other way around. So Kawhi can just say at the end of the day, Pop, this is all great, I love you, but I want to move on.
And I think this is a key graphic here, Rachel. You and I have talked about this a lot, which is that money's everything, right? Like, how does anyone walk away from that much money? $219 million.
So here's my question about this, though, okay? So he's available for the Supermax, right? And the idea is nobody turns down $219 million. So even if things haven't been great this past season, if they offer it, the feeling is that he would take it, and then maybe they can't trade him for a year after that. But if it really doesn't work out, that eventually they could do something about it. My question about that $219 million is, his health is still an issue. He still feels that he can't get back on the court. So despite, I mean, just take away all the back and forth and the he said, and by the way, I think the truth is always in the middle, right? People have always wanted to take huge sides on this story, and it's usually a little bit of everything, a little bit of both. What about his health and handing him a $219 million contract? We saw with Joel Embiid when he got the extension on his rookie deal, the Sixers put in all these caveats. hey, if you get hurt, we get this money back,
Yep.
we get that money back. If you are any team, if you are the Spurs, who maybe will plunk down 219 for him, or if you're another team who maybe, wants to either make an offer
Yep.
next year in free agency or this year with a sign and trade or something like that, how do you know that you are getting the top 5 player, Kawhi Leonard, on the floor for even some of the next 5 years?
Yeah, I don't know that you can know that for sure. My reporting on this says that he's close, and all he really needs is a summer to get himself right.
Okay.
To take his time and really rest that quadriceps muscle, and then strengthen it up again, and then strengthen the tendon again. Although I say all this saying I'm not a doctor, okay?
Not a doctor,
and all these
Say that
people,
Holiday Inn last
right? Okay, but there really hasn't been a huge consensus on this. So I think there's still a sense of, okay, this is nobody thought this was going to be that serious last summer.
Right, and also
he just didn't respond to the treatment that they had him do.
Right, and by the way, the comp everyone uses, especially on the Kawhi side,
Yeah.
is, hey, look at Isaiah Thomas. He came back when
Correct.
the team thought he could play on it, and it derailed his career. Maybe he'll never get back to being that player.
Yeah.
You have to be so careful. That's all true. However, we don't know what would have happened to Isaiah Thomas if he didn't come back.
Right.
That hip condition, there's a lot of mystery surrounding it. There are some people who believe it was degenerative and that he was going to have problems no matter what anyway. I don't know what kind of Kawhi I'm getting next year.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, if they can't even agree what this injury is, how do they know what Kawhi they're
Yeah,
getting
and I
next
think
year?
the biggest issue I think with the money and whether you offer it or not is who's to say that 6 months from now there's not going to be another similar situation that you then lose control of and cannot manage.
Right.
Now on Kawhi's side, it's also for him is how do I repair the trust? I mean,
Right.
Pop has been taking shots at him in his camp all year long. Every single time when he says, I don't know, you'll have to ask his camp,
group.
his group, his camp,
Yes.
whatever he says.
Even on the injury report,
Yeah.
it's not listed as injured.
Yeah.
It's return from injury management.
And that hurts. And the one thing I thought was a really critical piece of information going forward is Kawhi and Pop are still in touch. They're still very close. And Kawhi had a desire to go see Pop and support Pop if he was able to come back and coach after his wife passed away. I think that says a lot in terms of how strong their bond is. There's a lot of repairing that needs to be done in terms of trust. If I'm Kawhi and you've been hearing this all year long, and you're supposed to be the face of the franchise, and you hear this all year long, that's hard to take. And it's hard to come back and feel comfortable, as you said, in that locker room when you've been challenged by 2 other teammates. But there is some confusion about it, and I think Kawhi's agent saying this is not the same injury Tony Parker had.
Right.
He may think it is, but
Right.
it's not the same injury.
Right.
The fact that they don't even know, the teammates have a misunderstanding of what this is,
That's very
that's
big.
rough.
It's only going to affect the entire NBA this summer if he doesn't end up signing that deal, because then, of course, the San Antonio Spurs would look to trade him. So we'll keep an eye on it. Bomb, according to league sources, the Knicks have completed the interview process for their head coaching job after meeting with another name, Warriors assistant Mike Brown. So Team Brass attempting to reach a consensus on a candidate, hoping to hire a new coach this week. But here is a list of all the candidates they have interviewed. I feel like there's more than this list, by the way. Didn't
there's
Smith
more.
interview for this job? Oh, yeah,
There you
go. There you go.
Second screen. Kenny's not even on that screen. I'm telling you, there are screens and screens. Nobody can say they were not thorough. Byron, who would be the best fit to take the reins?
That's a good question. I think.
Can you even remember everyone we put up there? There's a lot to go
David
through.
Fizdale, I thought would be a great candidate and a great choice for him. I also like Mark Jackson. And the last time that they had any type of success, Mike Woodson was the coach.
Yep.
I like Mike Woodson.
In
so
New York,
any
they
of
like
those
to
three,
hire, fire, and rehire coaches and managers. So.
any of
Certainly knows
those
what
three, I
he's getting
think would be
into.
good. But to interview this many people tells me that you really don't have a clue what direction you want to go in. Because most organizations, they got a short list
Yeah.
of coaches
I
that they
think
want
it's
to
okay
bring
to
in.
talk to a lot of people.
I like that Mike Brown was added to the list. I was wondering if he was going to get back in the
Right,
interview
head coach.
list, especially after what he did last year, stepping in for Steve Kerr. Here's what I think is going on. Scott Perry has never been in this position to hire his own guy.
Yes.
He's the new general manager there. Steve Mills, the president there, has not got to hire his own guy.
'Cause of Phil Jackson.
The last two, Phil picked. That was Derek Fisher and Jeff Hornacek. Both these guys want to get this right. And they don't necessarily have their one guy that they gotta hire, and then they both got to get on the same page, because part of them working together is that they've got to make this decision together and both be standing behind it. So I think every time you interview somebody, they give you a different take on your franchise, different intel, different ideas. That's why you see a lot of it's just gathering intel. Why not? You
Yeah,
get
why
a lot
not?
of opinions. You know,
It's interesting.
try on some more clothes, right? I mean, that's you buy the first thing you try on, or do you try on like 10
All I
different
know
things.
is I would like, if I'm being interviewed for that job, just make me the last one that you talk to.
That's right.
Because that does help. I
Make me
Jerry
the
Joyce
last
on
one
that
you talk
list.
to.
I like also. Now, Ramona, Brian Windhorst has sat in that seat and said, I think the Knicks should not rush to hire anyone.
I agree.
Because somebody else
You mean like Doc Rivers?
Available, huh?
You like Doc Rivers?
might come available.
Somebody like that.
Where do we stand on that?
I gotta be honest, I was with Brian on that. I really thought that if there was one guy who could handle the media in New York and also knew what he was getting into, had that savviness there, it would have been Doc Rivers, but we don't have any clarity on where he stands right now and where the situation is with the Clippers. But I also think that knowing Scott, knowing Steve, I don't know that Doc is that type of person that they're going to hire. He's a big personality, a big voice in the room, and Scott and Doc's obviously had power of his own in the past.
Yeah.
So do you bring somebody into that seat
been a
who's
GM
been a GM president?
Right, yeah. And look, by the way, we don't know what's going on with Doc Rivers and the Clippers. We're not reporting anything here.
Yep.
It's just a situation we're watching. We're watching so many situations in this league.
Doc is
Coming up,
having
we're
fun.
going to show
Why
you
you're year-round now, right?
peek at my conversations
chilling.
with Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, and Rajon Rondo from the Pelicans. But first, here's our distant replay. This date, 97 now. Now this time,
That was in high school.
Penny Hardaway gets it back.
At least, huh? Okay.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
That's big
Penny
Penny.
Hardaway.
Not little Penny. Big Penny.
He just gave Michael Jordan,
Anyone can do to stop that shot right there.
or that might have been the dream shake right
Yeah,
there.
that was a mistake.
From the mid-range.
Yep.
Dream shake from the mid-range instead of the post.
I feel like the playoffs give us like,
Hey, listen up. We're here because